not your destination, though you may find from time to time complication.
We are just going to get started.
All right.
With our wonderful Black Excellence session. Malik, Danielle, the floor is yours. Take it away, my young
Thank
ones.
you. Hello, so my name is Malik Palmore. We would like to take a moment to honor these ancestral grounds that we have collectively gathered upon and support the resilience and strength that all Indigenous people have shown worldwide. I'm currently joining today online from my home, which is a traditionally unceded territory of the Kumeyaay people in San Diego.
So welcome to the San Diego Urban League and SDCOE Celebration of Black Excellence session number 2. I'll introduce myself first. I'm Danielle Henderson. I'm a current high school senior class of 2023, and I'm honored to help guide and monitor today's recognition of Black excellence.
Hello, I'm your second moderator. My name is Malik Palmore. I'm currently in business undergraduate. I'm excited to be your moderator of this great celebration of Black excellence in our community. We have a wonderful hour planned for you today, and we have our 2 amazing guests today from Peak Performance Consulting, President Dr. Herb Martin, and creator and founder of Rhymes with Reason, Austin Martin. Would you two like to introduce yourself, please?
We'll give the honors to the young man.
Sure. Dr. Herb Martin has a PhD.
Oh, I was talking about my son, but that's fine, but I appreciate
it. Sorry about
that. No, I'm fine. Thank you, Malik. What would you like?
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Austin Martin, founder of Rhymes with Reason. Rhymes with Reason is an online learning platform that helps young people learn vocabulary and build reading skills using popular music. And it's a business that I have been working on and kind of came up with the idea for it in 2015. It officially launched in 2018 with Rhymes with Reason, have touched over 200 schools across the United States. For undergrad, I went to Brown University and recently got my master's in education from Harvard Graduate School of Education. It's an honor to be here with you all today.
Yeah, certainly an honor to be here as well. Gosh, I've been involved in professional sports for the past 29 years. That makes me almost prehistoric in football and basketball world. But I'm certainly honored to be here, and I'm looking forward to sharing, certain experiences that I've had for many years. So basically, from a historical standpoint, I've been working with professional football and basketball teams and some collegiate sports for the past 2 decades. And so that's where I spend most of my time, working with individuals, working with teams, working with coaches, and some agents in the past as well. So that's sort of a brief, quick synopsis of my history. And this happens to be my son on the line. So that's why, I had to give deference to him and let him start first. So.
Awesome. And if you could, would you like to highlight some of the people in your life that you saw as assets as a young person that got you to where you were today?
Is that for me, Malik, or for Austin?
For Mr. Austin.
All right. I'm gonna get in trouble if I don't say my dad, right? I'm joking. Of course, yes. My dad is definitely one of the key people that I've had in my life that has served as an example of how to carry yourself as a man, as an adult, how to work hard, how to do the right thing. So I'll start there. And then I would say my mom too, and I would say all of those same things as well. Um, in terms of really pushing me to be the person that I am today. And there's so many different mentors that I like. There's so many different mentors. It's hard really to name one other one, but I would start with just teachers that I've had, teachers, professors in undergrad, um, down to like mentors that I've kind of accumulated in my business, like startup career. But I'll just leave the third person open and just say that there are a lot of people that are mentors of me that have helped me to get to where I am. Um, and I learned the skill of like seeking out mentors and listening from my parents. So that's really what opened up the ability for there to be that third person, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's my answer.
Okay, and Dr. Martin, was there a mentor in your life who helped shape or push you to reach the level that you're currently at today?
It's really interesting that you should ask that, Danielle, because it was both my father and my mother. So I'm really glad to hear Austin say that, not only because he would get in trouble when he came home, but on a serious note, both my parents were uh, teachers, and they really spent a lot of time with me, really supported me emotionally, psychologically, and really showed me very early on, how important it's amazing, just exactly what you said, because this is a question that is I've not really thought about, for a long time, but the value and importance of relationship, hard work, resilience. Um, they were definitely instrumental in my development throughout my collegiate, and even, my dad lived to be 90 years old, and he was still giving me advice, and I was listening as well. So clearly, they were instrumental in my development.
Thank you. So both of you have said that mentors who have shaped your life and had a profound impact were your parents. Do you believe that they're the same mentors who've brought you to the level you're currently at? Can we start with Mr. Austin?
So can you rephrase the question one more time, if you can, Malik?
So I just felt as though both of you feel as though your parents had a impact on your life, a profound impact. Do you believe that they're both the reasons, or your parents are the reason you guys have attained the level you're currently at right now?
Um, okay. So I mean, yeah, I think they set the foundation that has helped me to get to where I'm at. But like I was saying, there are plenty of other people that have really helped participate in a way that has lifted me to the level that I'm at. I would say for me, there's two kind of advisors that I have that are really close to me. One is named Kim Folsom. She's a Black female entrepreneur extraordinaire that's actually based here in San Diego. Um, she comes to mind for me because, um, although like my dad and my mom, they know so much stuff and have, you know, taught me so much stuff. But Kim's line of work, being like an entrepreneur who has scaled businesses um, on a super high level, her expertise is more in line with like the route that I'm trying to go as a person. Whereas my parents did other things, right, and have done other things extremely well. Um, so yeah, it's a mix of like my parents, but also people do things that my parents may not do, or have had careers that my parents may not have had. Um, you know, um, yeah, like professors I had in undergrad that taught me about, and even in graduate school that taught me about like culturally relevant pedagogy and like things like that that are a part of my work today. And you know, like that I got that was extra that really helped propel me to the level that I'm at. So yeah, it's a blend of a lot of different things, but I think I've been very fortunate, but I think it's also a skill, like I was saying earlier, to seek out mentors that have that are good at things that you're not good at, basically, and know things that you don't know. So I've done that. Um, and those people who are good at things that I'm not good at and know things that I don't know have helped me maybe get to the level that I'm at. So yeah.
Thank you. I would also like to follow up that question with, do you believe that those same mentors were the reason you were interested in your field of study, or was there another reason behind your interests?
I'd like to answer that question by saying that clearly my interest into sports psychology was definitely not something that my parents, either parents, and you know, in this case, my father, we never went to a football game or a basketball game, ironically. But in my early development, I wanted to be a lawyer. And and this may delve into the next questions, I'm not sure, but I shifted my undergraduate focus from law, and in this case was political science, to psychology in my senior year. And, you know, when I began this whole road down sports, it was just by happenstance. My roommate was a highly recruited athlete at the University of Michigan, went to the University of Michigan for undergrad, and he was injured. And I said, gosh, there's got to be someone to help guys like this, because a lot of the guys would come by to help athletes, you know, collegiate athletes. And so that was something that stayed in my mind. I subsequently got a bachelor's, master's, and then a PhD in psychology, clinical psychology. So it was really from that experience that led to me ultimately seeking sports as a venue, as a profession. So, but it's certainly integrated, you know, it had integration, and, you know, I had to go through the whole track of mental health training in order to ultimately work with professional athletes.
Um, thank you, Dr. Martin, but I would also like to ask Mr. Austin if it was the same for you. I remember you mentioned a female entrepreneur who was profoundly impact for you. Do you believe that she got you interested in your current field of study, or is it saying something else got you interested into it?
No, yeah, I met her because I was already interested in it and I was already pursuing my career, and I met her on the journey, and she kind of helped take me from my start to like to help me, like you were talking about earlier, get to the next level. The interest was already there. Um, for me, I've always had like a deep interest in, I would say, just making the world a better place, like trying to help people. And kind of in college, I kind of figured out that I wanted to do that through education specifically. And I've also been like obsessed with like music my entire life, specifically hip hop and more like lyrically driven music. And I kind of blended those two things together and had this idea to teach kids vocab and help kids study using their favorite music. Um, and I had this idea. It was like I got a grant for it in college. I was like building it out. And then after college, I had a prototype and had some users. And it's like, okay, how do I take this from like prototype with users to like a business? And that's when I met that woman, Kim Folsom, who helped take me from that prototype stage to like starting to figure out the process of like how to build this into a business. And so the interest was already there. She just helped kind of take it to the next level.
So kind of adding on to that, how do you aspire to grow in the future in your current field of study? So just like any plans or like any future aspirations you have in whatever you're doing as of right now, do you have like any certain goals that you want to attain in the future?
I think Austin might be better suited to answer that than I, but
I was gonna say, Herb, you can't say retirement.
no, I'm a long ways from retirement. Let me just simply say this, and then also, part of what I've been blessed to do has allowed me to live life in such a way that I'm able to make contact with young people your age and perhaps a little bit older. And so to me, that's an ongoing process. I don't see a retirement in that way, because even if I formally retired, I would still do what I do now. So, I've been very fortunate to be able to help a lot of people improve their quality of life. And I hope to be able to do that until, I'm nearing the end, right? So, I don't know, how about for you, Austin?
Yeah, I would say for me, I want to impact millions, at least 1 million people is kind of one of my goals. To have at least 1 million people utilize Rhymes with Reason's platform. And yeah, I also want to, I want this to be I want it to be lucrative as well, and financially make a good amount of money too, and really strike that balance though for me of like impact in terms of helping millions and raising reading levels, but also being a business that makes like a good amount of money and can hire, give people job opportunities, and be a powerful entity in that regard. And for me, it's my ultimate goal. It's kind of hard to quantify this exactly, is to really strike that balance, because I think that there are a lot of companies that either they help a ton of people, and they don't necessarily, there's not a they're sometimes lacking the money that they need, or the inverse, where companies make a ton of money but they're not really changing anything and aren't impactful. So my ultimate goal has always been to be right there in the middle. So I want to kind of grow in parallel. But for me, if I had to choose one though, I really want to make an imprint on the world and help people first and foremost. So again, I would say one thing I could say is having at least 1 million people use Rhymes with Reason.
Now, I heard both of you guys talk about using your platform and your experience to help people. So these questions can kind of be altered for both of you guys. But for Dr. Martin, it would be more of, can you speak to the importance that you think that having an impact on people is to you? And then for Dr. Martin, yours would be more of, can you speak on the struggles you've had in order to, in your career, having to have the impact on people?
So, okay, so I'll speak to the first part of it. Well, actually both. I certainly want to be able to impact people, and I mentioned that to you before, from all walks of life. And working with professional athletes, people don't really completely understand it's not just the athlete, but it's their family members, it's their friends. There's other people in their ecosystem that need to be educated and need to understand what goes on in the life of that person to be able to help them. So one of the things that I've been doing recently and want to continue to expand is working, for example, with families, working, for example, with significant others of players, because there's a great deal of pressure that a lot of athletes experience at the pro level and probably even at the collegiate level, where if those things aren't in balance, it creates a problem. Some of the challenges that have faced, I think, because I started in this space so long ago, 30 years ago, people weren't talking about sports psychology. I mean, they did in the Olympics and that kind of thing. But for African Americans, and to have someone like myself, there were very few of us. It's certainly becoming more prevalent today in the mainstream. I think some of the challenges have been to help people to understand that in a business, while there's the bottom line, that there's human capital that needs to be addressed. And so some of the challenges that I've faced have been my own perception of how that's valued, rather than just going out and having an individual go out and score 10 touchdowns for you or make 50 points a game, but to really understand that the person that is performing for you is a human being, and is a human being that may be a complex individual, but certainly has complex challenges. And in order to meet those challenges, you have to have people that are invested in helping them. And so my investment is really around my purpose that I talked about. And so I don't think that it's been extremely challenging, but it's something that I have to do and play political. I have to politically massage that and do that in such a way that I'm both addressing the needs of the player and also the systems that I work in. So that means that I sometimes have to walk a line and also do a lot of interpreting for the players, as well as for the organizations or the people that work in management, to understand that these are some of the inherent challenges. So what I mean by that is developing programs, the frequency of those programs, for example, taking time away from the regular day in order to meet the needs of the individual so that they can perform. And I know that's a lot, but what I'm saying to you is that the work that I've done, if there has been any challenge, is helping people to understand that there is a systemic approach to this that leads to success rather than just the individual. And so that's kind of the way that I think, that's the way that I've been trained, and that's the way that I approach athletes, just like in a family system. Very similar. Kid comes in and having a rough time. Well, there's reasons for that. It's not just the school system. It's not just the mom or the dad that's getting after the kid. There's all kinds of things that are going on simultaneously that affect that individual. So I know it's a long-winded answer to tell you that that's the goal, and that those are some of the inherent challenges.
And sorry, you can go ahead, Mr. Austin.
No, I was actually going to ask if you could restate the question, or if you're moving on to the next question, I'm cool with that too. But I just wanted to hear it one more time before I answered it.
Yeah, just speaking to like the importance of having an impact on people and using your work and your experience to touch and impact the lives of others.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot to this question. I don't know. I think, like with our lives, I think one of the best things we can do is like just leave a positive imprint on other people and impact other people. And we get blessed with certain talents, certain privileges, certain opportunities. And a lot of times we didn't do anything to get those things, right? So I don't know. I've always just thought kind of like with those things that I've been blessed with, I just want to like get, it's too much for me to just hold on to just all for myself. Like I just don't even really know how to do that. And it's also like not even fun. Really, I think it's like way more fulfilling if, I'm figuring out like, I don't know, it's like I'm figuring out how to do something that's more important than just being self-serving. So yeah, like we all have a kind of a finite amount of time, a finite amount of resources or whatever. And it's like, I don't know. I've just always been of the philosophy that I want to do something to impact with those things. And then I guess was the second part of your question,
Well,
and also I get some of that
challenges.
definitely from my parents in terms of um where I get that kind of like philosophy, that type of thinking. Was the second part, what are the challenges inherent in doing that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that the challenge inherent in doing that is like anytime you're trying to solve a systemic problem, kind of like my dad was talking about, there's a reason that it's a systemic problem. Like I'm not the only person that has tried to solve the problems that I'm trying to solve in education. Um, my dad is not the first person to try to solve the problems that he's trying to solve in terms of family dynamics and psychological pressure that people face. Like there's a reason that these problems have existed for so long. The reason why they've existed for so long is that there are systemic challenges that have created these problems and make these problems persist. So it's anytime you're like serious about making an impact and making a change and changing a system and working within a system to create change, you're going up against like ye a sys you're going up against a system that is creating a problem and that has rules, regulations, norms, tradition, that make it so that it's a major obstacle to overcome. So, those are, I guess, like that's the inherent challenge. And in education, I mean, I'll just give you just a tiny thing is like, the way that curriculums are written, certainly favor people from certain backgrounds. So, in launching a product and a resource that changes that, it's a challenge. So that yeah, that's my answer to that.
Um, I have a follow-up question for Mr. Austin. Um, sorry, this is more out of curiosity. If is there a certain song or album that you enjoy the most that has meaning or anything that like really inspires you or speaks to you? And if so, can you explain why?
Wow, a song or album that really speaks to me. Ooh, I love this question. Um, there's so many. Like there's so many. Um, man, I'm trying to think of like just like the most like I can give you certain artists maybe that speak. People like Nipsey Hussle. Um, there's multiple albums, multiple songs. Um, Kendrick. Like I love like the Pimp a Butterfly album, just in terms of like for so many reasons, but the way that um man, just like you know what? Okay. So I know I'm kind of going on a tangent here. Um, so many rappers, like I was actually talking to my dad about this. People like Nipsey Hussle, people like Kendrick, people like J. Cole, um, they're really like motivational psychologists. Like, and I've been reading about there's this book called Grit by Angela Duckworth. I've been reading about this concept of grit and overcoming obstacles and overcoming challenges. And there are people who are professionals in psychology in this kind of sector of psychology called motivational psychologists. People like Nipsey, people like J. Cole, Kendrick, Lil Wayne, a lot of different people. They are like they are basically doing the same things that people are doing and talking about in motivational psychology, but just in a more like universal way. Also, it's funny, I've been I don't know, I've been listening to Lil Wayne a lot recently, and Lil Wayne actually has he majored in psychology at the University of Houston, and J. Cole's first rap name was The Therapist. And his whole ethos as a rapper was that he was like basically gonna give his listeners therapy. Um, and what's just so dope about that is like I was kind of that's how the music hit me when I was growing up. And it hits that way for so many people, but people just may not be aware of that and may not be conscious of that. But like in 10 years, people are going to talk about and that's what we're doing with Rhymes with Reason already, but people are going to study these artists like they study, you know, people in these artists are going to be, their work is going to be studied in an academic capacity, and it's going to click for everybody. Like, oh my gosh, like this artist was doing that like in their songs, and they've been doing that. So I would say the catalogs of a lot of the artists that I just named are people that have really influenced me.
I also had a question for Dr. Martin.
Sure.
I would like to know, during your time in the substance abuse program for NFL, is there a specific story that stood out to you that you'd be able to share to us?
I can't share any specific stories, but I will tell you this. The demands that are placed on professional athletes are enormous. And it's just what I have found and I've experienced firsthand is that a lot of individuals that grow up in urban environments, much like myself, coming from Detroit, that is a way of life. And just because they enter the NFL, the expectation, or the NBA, that they're expected not to continue that. Well, the reality is that doesn't always take place. And I think that's one of the reasons why in recent years, many of the drug policies have been modified. But I say this to say that part of the struggle and the challenge for players is just to find relief. And they may be able to do it on Sunday or at their specific, game time. And as we know, substances, drinking, alcohol, smoking marijuana is a temporary relief from some of the challenges. So it is not a surprise to me. And even when I started early in my career working with the substance abuse program, I always felt just inherently like I completely understood why the guys resorted to drugs and alcohol, because they just didn't have relief. They didn't have relief at home. They didn't have relief in society. What went on in their lives was memorialized and papered, and people don't really know what's going on in the life. Or, nobody knows what's in your life, what you're dealing with today. And so I had a great deal of, I think, compassion and empathy for them early on. So in terms of a specific case, I mean, there's, people don't realize this, but every time a pro football player plays on Sunday, he runs the risk of not being able to walk the following day or to perform the following week. And so living with that kind of uncertainty, which is very unlike our experiences and what you will experience in the workplace, is something that athletes have to adjust to. So imagine you've prepared yourself all these years, go to undergrad, you work, you work to get to this point, and then boom, it's over, or either it's impaired. It's a tremendous amount of uncertainty and a tremendous amount of responsibility that many athletes endure because they have families and they feel compelled to take care of their families. So I say all that to say that, yeah, man, I understand, and it's been tough for a lot of guys, but rules are made to follow. So I don't know if I answered your question. I hope I did.
Follow up. Sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, to follow up, Dr. Martin, do you use any music in your treatments?
No, I leave that to my son.
Mm.
Actually, we're doing some things together. So, for example, I develop programs to prevent behavioral problems, and because the music is so powerful, that there are ways to help players to understand and get more in touch with what may be going on in their life through music, and through the mastery of what he's developed. That I think it's a wonderful marriage between, you know, what I'd like to do in terms of training, but also being able to expand that to touch players viscerally, you know, and emotionally by using music. Danielle, did you have a question for us?
Yes, kind of adding on to the music statements that Mr. Austin stated. I like how you said how people are going to come to the realization that a lot of rap lyrics, you know, they do have very impactful lyrics. Like I know Kendrick Lamar, he won like a Pulitzer Prize. And I know that at MIT, Lupe Fiasco is now teaching, or he might have just taught it for just one semester, but he was teaching a class about rap. And people are now coming to the realization that rap isn't just like some like people take as very ignorant, like just like slander. It's just like, it's like the term is very ghetto, but a lot of times when you go into like more conscious rappers like J. Cole, Kendrick, and the Waynes, you'll see that a lot of people, they take it as it's kind of our form of poetry. I think it's really important that people see that. And so kind of going into that, this can be asked to either of you guys, but is there anything that in either your perspective fields that you wish people understood or in the future would come to understand about your particular field of study?
Awesome.
So it's really funny that you mentioned Lupe. So I like met Lupe. We're working on a collab right now. I met him when I was up at Harvard and he was at MIT. And it's funny, you just said it, like it's so funny. I was thinking because Lupe was like one of my favorite rappers growing up too. I didn't mention him on here because I didn't know if like y'all would know Lupe like that. Compared to maybe some of like, you know, huge names per se. But he was huge to me. But so anyway, it's funny because I was thinking, like you just said, Danielle, uh, like I legitimately like was thinking, wow, when I was in 7th grade listening to Lupe, when you reframe it how the way you just said it, when I was in 7th grade listening to Lupe, I was listening to an MIT professor.
Wow.
Like what other way could like the school system or my parents or whoever like get me to listen to an MIT professor like for fun? Like that's what I was doing. You know what I'm saying? And that's what's going to happen, like you just said, Danielle. So that's the thing that people don't get, but they're going to get it. And it's gonna happen. It's already happening. Yeah, like hip hop rap is gonna be looked at like, you know, like Shakespeare one day, probably. Um, so yeah, I'll just
So if there's anything, Danielle, if there's anything that I want people to understand about athletes is that they're human. Number, just plain and simple. They have the same fears, you know, I mean, you know, fundamentally, desires, aspirations, and many ways they want to take care of their families. It's manifested differently and different. The trappings look different, but fundamentally it's the same. And I think that that's true for all people, whether they're Black, white, professional athlete, football, celebrity. And I've been blessed to work with the whole range, and with celebrities as well as professional athletes, and it's all the same. We're all the same in many different ways. People get kind of they think that money changes things. Money does change things, but it doesn't change fundamental needs. And I wish people really understood that and respected that experience more. And if that was indeed the case, I think we would have, the players that I walk down the street with wouldn't be seen as objects, and people would respect them. And because I've been in settings where I walk in with someone, we go to a restaurant or whatever the case is, and people do a whole bunch of jumping up and down. But as soon as that player is out of the league, that person becomes discarded in society. And so that's why many players have such difficulty once they retire from their respective sports.
Thank you both. I would like to ask you if there's any last advice you'd like to give our viewers that can help them in their educational fields that you guys have received. Anyone can answer first.
While you're thinking about it, the thing I would want everybody on the Zoom to understand and appreciate and consider is that it's possible. And no matter where you are, it's possible if, and Austin spoke to this, you have a dream, you have a desire, and you have resources that you maximize the resources that are available to you. So what I mean by that is, I don't care if you are in middle school, I don't care if you're in high school, you have teachers. If you don't have the teacher that's vibing with you, that you don't feel that is really trying to understand, then you find one. And that I also believe in many ways, and I say this just respectfully, having grown up in Detroit, and in an environment that, even though my parents were teachers, we lived in, we didn't live in poverty, but we didn't have everything available to us. But what they taught me, and what I think many people can do, is that if they have a desire, if it's something that they really want to do, whatever the case may be, then it is incumbent upon that person to try to do everything that they possibly can to get there. Now, I know that life is difficult. I'm in the mental health field, I understand. But whatever it is, however you define success for yourself, choose it. You only have one life, and don't be dissuaded by the messaging on your phone and other kinds of things that get in the way of something that's important to you, something that speaks to you in your life. As you guys see here with my son, he could have gone into sports. I got all kinds of connections I could have hooked him up with, but he chose what he wanted to do. And because he has passion around that, he's been very successful at doing it. So I say to you guys, if you have a strong desire to do something, do it. Live your life. You live your life fully and never look back, because every day is an opportunity if you're alive. So that's kind of my mantra.
Yeah, for sure. I would, everything that my dad just said, 100%. I would just add though, I was trying to think of a perfect quote for this, but kind of like there's no traffic in your lane. You know what I mean? Like just be you, and when you're really being you and being authentically you, and you're blocking out the things that everybody else is doing, a lot of times it's not what it seems. The grass is not always greener on the other side or in other lanes. Like your lane, there's really not much traffic in there. So just kind of stay in there and do what's true to you, and just go forward. And it's really a lot about putting blinders on, and not getting caught up in what other people are doing around you.
All right, I think that was a great way to end off this session. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your busy lives to not only just stay in this meeting, but also to answer our questions. We really appreciate it. I loved your guys' response. You guys had really good and thorough responses, and I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Our next session will be celebrating Black Excellence in March on the 25th for Black Girl Magic with Reverend Alice Smith Cooper, Lonnie Murphy, Jay Trevitz, and a special performance of a spoken word by Sierra Stanley from Mission Hills High School. So if you want to see that, we'll have that going on. But overall, thank you guys so much for attending and for participating, and have a great rest of your day.
So Danielle and Malik and Dr. Steve, thank you so much for the invitation. It's been an honor. You guys are going a long way, and I really appreciate the opportunity to spend this time. And I'll look forward to speaking to you, Steve, in the near future.
Yes, indeed. Malik, Danielle, you are excellent. And
Yes.
sometimes we just
Absolutely.
got to get out of the way and let you do your thing. I appreciate you for joining us on this journey. It is not over. We have 2 more sessions to come, one next month and one in April. We're going to knock it out of the park. Again, a big thanks to our partners in this, and that's the San Diego Urban League, Katrina Hassan Hamilton and Key Hagan. We greatly appreciate you in all you do. Again, Dr. Martin, Austin Martin, love
Thank
you,
you very
gents.
much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
All
right.
go and continue to cultivate that Black excellence. Let's just bring it. Don't just sing it. And we'll see you next time.
All right, my man. Take care, buddy.
Thank you.
You guys.